I knew he cheated before he ever admitted it, before he even realized the walls around him were already cracking. I knew it from the moment he walked through the door that night, tossing his keys onto the counter like everything was normal. Like he wasn't carrying someone else's scent on his skin. Like he hadn't spent the evening pressed against another woman's body. Like he hadn't ruined the life I had stupidly wrapped around his. I didn't ask him right away. I just watched him. The way he avoided my eyes. The way he pretended to scroll his phone when I came too close. The way his laugh sounded forced, too bright, too sharp, like he was trying to prove something. I'd been with Ethan long enough to read the small shifts. The tiny tells. The things other people missed. When you love someone deeply, you become a specialist in their micro-expressions. The little hesitations. The way their shoulders stiffen when they're lying. That night, every part of him was screaming the truth. But the truth itself didn't hurt me as much as what came after. I waited until he was brushing his teeth, his reflection flickering in the bathroom mirror under that awful white LED bulb we always said we'd replace. He looked older in that light. Or maybe I was seeing him clearly for the first time. I stepped into the doorway and said quietly, "Ethan, can we talk?" He froze mid-brush, foam at the corner of his mouth. Sure? About what?" I held up my phone. The screenshots open. The messages from the girl he'd slept with. Her receipts, her timeline, her photos. She had been painfully, brutally honest with me. More honest than he had been in months. Ethan's face didn't go pale. It didn't twist with guilt. It didn't even twitch with fear. Instead, he rolled his eyes. Rolled. His eyes. "You're really gonna believe a random girl over your own boyfriend?" he said, toothpaste still dripping. I felt something inside me go silent. Not a dramatic crack. Not a shatter. Just quiet. Like someone hitting mute on a television. Like my emotions were stepping back and watching from behind glass. He wiped his mouth, stepped closer, and tried to wrap his arms around me, his voice softening into that manipulative tone I now realized he'd practiced. "Baby, she's lying. She's obsessed with me. I told you about her. She's trying to ruin us because I wouldn't give her attention. Come on, you know me." The worst part? His performance was good. Convincing. Maybe it would have worked on the old version of me, the woman who believed relationships were built on giving the other person the benefit of the doubt. But I wasn't her anymore. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't pack a bag. I leaned my head into his chest, let him hold me, let him think he'd gotten away with it. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "I love you." Like a man closing a door he never planned on reopening. And that's the exact moment I decided to stay. Not because I forgave him. Not because I needed him. Not because I was weak. I stayed so I could ruin him from the inside out. Not in a fit of rage. Not explosively. Not dramatically. Slowly. Strategically. 8 months, maybe less if I got lucky. I had already run the numbers that night after he fell asleep. I sat on the bathroom floor while he snored, calculating exactly how much money I needed to move into a new place, furnish it, pay the deposit, and coast through the first 2 months without him. I accounted for Uber rides, new locks, meal costs, the boring parts of survival most people forget when leaving someone they've built a life with. 8 months. That was the number. And in those 8 months I would make his life collapse one inconvenience at a time. The next morning, everything started with something tiny. I moved his wallet. Just shifted it from the kitchen counter to behind the couch cushion where he'd never think to look. He tore the apartment apart for 15 minutes before giving up and using his emergency gas station cash to buy coffee on his way to work. When he left, I put the wallet back exactly where he originally left it. He blamed himself. The next day, I rearranged where he kept his keys. Not enough to make him suspicious, just enough to make him annoyed. He was late to work. Again. He blamed the universe. A week later I decided to escalate. I canceled his haircut appointment. He'd been excited about it, talking about trying a new style. I called the barbershop and said, "Hey, Ethan won't be able to make it. He's sick." The receptionist apologized and rescheduled him for a date 2 weeks out. He came home furious, muttering, "I swear nobody in this town knows how to run a damn schedule." He blamed other people. That was when I knew I could take this so much further. His toothbrush was next. It was petty. Unhinged maybe. But cheating is unhinged. Lying about it is unhinged. Gaslighting me until I doubted my own sanity was unhinged. So I dipped his toothbrush into the toilet bowl. Twice. He brushed with it that night, humming, tapping his foot like life was just peachy. I watched him from the hallway. He saw me and smiled, toothpaste foaming. I smiled back. He blamed nothing. He didn't even know. My revenge became a daily ritual. Something to look forward to. Something that made getting out of bed in the morning easier. Cooking dinner? Burn it. Oops babe, I tried a new recipe. Laundry day? Forget to wash his uniform. Or wash it but leave it in the machine overnight so it came out smelling like mildew. Sorry babe. I guess I'm just overwhelmed emotionally. Every time he looked stressed or frustrated, I felt better. Stronger. Wiser. The version of me who cried over his betrayal evaporated piece by piece, with every inconvenience I created. Sometimes I deliberately choose shows to watch that I knew he hated: slow artsy films, 3-hour documentaries about nature, true crime episodes about men who cheated and ended up in body bags. I'd watch his. I'd twitch as he tried to pretend he didn't hate it. I'd snuggle into his side and say, "Isn't this so thoughtful and deep?" He'd nod. Because what else could he say? He'd lost the right to disagree the moment he slept with someone else. I started forgetting important dates, our anniversary plans, his barber appointments, even his birthday. He waited the entire day for me to surprise him. I didn't even get him a card. When he finally whispered, "I thought you were planning something," I put my hand on his shoulder and said, "Sorry, I just get so sad when I think about what you did. It's hard to celebrate anything." And he just shut down. Quiet and guilty. Exactly how I wanted him. But the revenge didn't stop inside our home. I told his parents. I didn't scream it or announce it in anger. No, I sat across from them in their quiet, warm living room, hands wrapped around a mug of tea, eyes watery. I let my voice wobble. "I'm trying to forgive him. I really am, but finding out he cheated," his mother gasped. His father clenched his jaw. They looked at each other like their son had turned into a stranger. He didn't find out I told them until days later, when they confronted him in person. He came home red-faced, pacing, ranting. "Why would you tell them? You embarrassed me." I held his hand gently. I was hurting, Ethan. I needed support. He had no argument. None. And the more powerless he felt, the more control I gained. Then came the wedding. His best friend Mark's wedding. Ethan was a groomsman. He'd been talking about it for months. But on the morning of the wedding, I sat on the bed, staring at the wall, tears streaming down my face. Not real grief, but something close to it, something I had rehearsed. I can't stop thinking about the cheating. I whispered. My shoulders shook. He hesitated. Sat beside me. Put a hand on my back. "Babe, please, it's Mark's wedding." I sobbed harder. He stayed. He missed half the ceremony. I showed up later with perfect makeup and a polite smile, looking like I had fully recovered. People noticed Ethan looked drained. People noticed I looked composed. They drew their own conclusions. Every night around 3 a.m., I'd wake him up to talk. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes I just stared at him and said, "I don't feel secure anymore. Because of what you did." He'd rub his tired eyes, sit with me for hours, and then drag himself to work half alive. He started messing up at the shop. His uncle cut his hours. His friends said he seemed off. I nodded sympathetically every time someone mentioned it. "He's just going through a lot," I'd say. And he was. Because I was engineering the collapse of the man who tried to destroy me. The more miserable he got, the lighter I felt. I started going to the gym again, getting my nails done, rebuilding myself piece by piece. Meanwhile, Ethan looked like he was dissolving from the inside. Patchy beard, dark circles, forgotten deadlines, constant anxiety. He kept telling me, "I'm trying my best." And I'd look at him with pity and say, "I know. I'm trying too." Then, something unexpected happened. Something that wasn't in my plan. Something that made my stomach drop in a way even betrayal didn't. It happened late at night while Ethan was in the shower. His phone buzzed on the couch. One voicemail transcription flashed on the screen. I wasn't trying to look. I wasn't snooping. But my eyes landed on the preview. And once I saw the first 4 words, I couldn't look away. "Hey Ethan, it's me." My heartbeat slowed. "I know you blocked me, but I'm late. Late. As in pregnant late. My entire body went cold. I picked up the phone with shaking hands and played the voicemail, and the girl's voice trembled through the speaker, soft, scared, and all too familiar. And that's when I realized I wasn't the only one with a secret. I wasn't the only one planning something. I wasn't the only one who knew the truth. I wasn't the only woman whose life Ethan had underestimated. And that was the moment everything changed, because I finally understood something terrifying. I wasn't just ruining his life anymore. I was about to destroy it. And I hadn't even told you the worst part yet. That I replayed the voicemail 3 times. Maybe 4. By the 5th, my hands were shaking so hard the phone nearly slipped out of them. I couldn't tell if I was trembling from fury, shock, or something so cold and hollow it didn't have a name yet. All I knew was that her voice, soft, breathy, almost apologetic, felt like a knife sliding between my ribs. Hey Ethan, it's me. I know you blocked me, but I'm late, and I need to talk to you. Late. That word echoed in my skull like a gunshot in an empty hallway. I sat there on the couch staring at his phone, feeling the entire universe tilt sideways around me. The air felt wrong, like I'd stepped into a version of my life I didn't recognize. I had planned for his betrayal. I had planned for the lies, the gaslighting, the manipulation. I had even planned my revenge with mathematical precision. But I hadn't planned for this. I hadn't planned for another woman's heartbeat possibly growing inside her because of him. And I especially hadn't planned for the suffocating realization that he might have blown up my life in more ways than I ever imagined. The shower shut off. His footsteps echoed down the hallway. I shoved his phone back exactly where it was on the couch and threw myself into the recliner like I had been scrolling mindlessly the entire time. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure he'd hear it. When he walked out, towel wrapped around his waist, steam rolling off his skin, he smiled at me. Like nothing was wrong. Like he hadn't detonated our life. Like he wasn't keeping a secret big enough to destroy everything. "Whatcha watching?" he asked, wiping his hair with the towel. I shrugged. Nothing. Just zoning out. He kissed the top of my head. An action that used to feel comforting. Now it felt filthy. Every inch of him felt contaminated. Not because of the other girl, but because he had dared to keep something this massive hidden. And suddenly, for the first time since I started my revenge, I didn't feel in control. I felt something else rising beneath my skin. Hot, shaking emotion that made my throat burn. I excused myself to the bathroom and locked the door. Turned on the faucet to drown out the sound of my breathing. Stared at my reflection. Eyes wide, unfocused, wild. My hands clutched the edges of the sink so hard my knuckles went white. "You wanted revenge," I whispered to myself. Well, now it's bigger than revenge. Because if she was pregnant, he wasn't just a liar. He wasn't just a cheater. He wasn't just a manipulator. He was a danger. A danger to my future. To my stability. To my financial safety. To my sanity. And suddenly the timeline changed. 8 months wasn't fast enough anymore. The next day I needed answers. While he was at work, I opened his laptop. And believe me, I didn't feel guilty for even a second. Privacy is a privilege for the faithful. For the honest. For the people who don't create chaos behind your back, and then expect you to respect boundaries. His password was our anniversary date. Pathetic. Once inside, I didn't find messages. He wasn't stupid enough to sync anything to a computer I used to. But I did find Google searches. Old ones. Buried in the history. How to tell someone you're not leaving your girlfriend. Can a girl get pregnant from signs a girl is lying about pregnancy. And the worst one, the one that made my stomach cave inward. How to make someone get over you faster. Not someone. Her. Which meant he had been trying to get rid of her. Which meant he wasn't done. Which meant this wasn't some old fling he barely remembered. I clicked deeper into his email. Buried in his spam folder were automated messages. Re-appointment confirmation. Planned Parenthood. Downtown Columbus. Re-follow-up reminder blood work. My vision blurred. My pulse stuttered. He had known. He had known something was going on with her. He had scheduled something. He had deleted it from his main inbox. He had hidden it. But it wasn't over. Because at the very bottom of the page was a message from the girl's email address. Unread. Not opened. Probably filtered out by accident. Subject line. Please. I don't know what to do. Clicked it. And what I read inside made my skin crawl. Ethan, I don't want to cause problems. I just need to know if you're going to be there. I'm scared. I don't want to do this alone. Please call me. I won't tell your girlfriend. I just need you to take responsibility for what happened. My mouth went dry. My chest tightened. I read the email 3 times. Then I read it once more just to feel the depth of what he'd done. He had abandoned her, blocked her, pretended she didn't exist. And she was terrified. No matter what she had done, no matter her role in all this, she didn't deserve to be left alone like that. Not for something this big. Not by a man who had used her and discarded her when it got inconvenient. And that's when the revenge inside me changed. It wasn't about petty satisfaction anymore. It wasn't about hiding his keys or dipping his toothbrush or making him eat dinners he hated. Now it was about justice. It was about exposing the version of Ethan he tried so hard to hide, not just from me, but from every person who ever believed his lies. He wasn't just a cheater. He was someone who left a scared woman alone to deal with the consequences of something he helped create. I knew what I had to do. I replied to her email, not pretending to be him, not pretending to be anyone. I wrote, "Hi, I found your message. I think we need to talk." I stared at the cursor blinking at the end of the sentence for a long time before hitting send. Within minutes she wrote back. And the message started with, "Wait, who is this?" I told her the truth. "I'm Ethan's girlfriend." She freaked out. I could see it in the frantic tone of her reply. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know he was lying. I swear I didn't think you guys were still together. But I didn't want apologies. I wanted information." This girl lived in a small suburb 20 minutes from us. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop halfway between us, neutral ground, public, safe. I got there first. I sat in a small wooden booth, my hands trembling around a cup of coffee I couldn't drink. When she walked in, my breath caught. She was younger than me, softer, more naive looking, the kind of girl who trusted too easily, the kind of girl predators targeted. She spotted me, hesitated, then approached slowly. "Are you?" she whispered. I nodded. "Yeah." We sat in silence for a long moment. Then she broke down crying. She told me everything. How Ethan had charmed her. How he said we were basically broken up. How he said I was emotionally unstable. How he claimed he was trying to leave but didn't want to hurt me. How he promised her things. How he showed up at her apartment twice, and then suddenly vanished. Her voice cracked when she told me the last part. When she told him she might be pregnant, he blocked her everywhere. Phone, Instagram, Snapchat, everything. He disappeared. Left her alone with something he helped create. She wasn't sure yet. She hadn't confirmed anything, but she was terrified. And sitting across from her, watching her cry, watching her shoulders shake, something inside me ignited so fiercely I could feel my blood heating. Because Ethan didn't just cheat. He exploited her. He lied to her. He discarded her. He abandoned her when she needed the truth most. We sat there together, 2 women wronged by the same man, sharing the same hollow pain. And then something happened I didn't expect. Instead of feeling jealous or threatened or angry at her, I felt protective. Not of Ethan, of her. She didn't deserve his manipulation. She didn't deserve his cowardice. She didn't deserve to be alone in this nightmare. And neither did I. When I got home, Ethan was playing video games, headphones on, shouting at some teenager online. His laughter filled the apartment like poison. Like nothing had happened. Like he wasn't the storm that had wrecked 2 women's lives without losing a wink of sleep. He paused the game when he saw me. "Hey babe, you okay?" I stared at him. Really stared at him. Every smug cell of his existence. Every selfish fiber of his personality. Every fake smile he had ever used to manipulate the people around him. And for the first time since starting my revenge, I didn't feel satisfaction when I looked at him. I felt something darker, colder, sharper. He had no idea that earlier that day, his entire world had begun collapsing behind his back. He had no idea the girl he abandoned met with me. He had no idea I knew everything he tried to hide. He had no idea that the revenge he'd been walking through blindfolded was now evolving into something much more dangerous. He had no idea he had crossed a line he'd never come back from. But the real turning point, the moment everything truly shifted, happened later that night. When he fell asleep snoring dead to the world. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text message. From an unknown number. And when I read it, every inch of blood in my body froze. Because it said, "You need to tell her the truth before I do." I just stood there in the silent apartment, hearing the refrigerator hum like a distant engine, watching the dust float through the light from the kitchen window. My hands were still shaking from everything I had done, everything I had set in motion, and yet there was this strange eerie calm settling into my bones. 8 months of planning. 8 months of pretending. 8 months of smiling next to him in photos while I plotted the slow, meticulous destruction of his confidence, his relationships, his peace. And now the day had come. But my revenge wasn't finished. Not yet. Because there was one final thread I needed to pull. After I walked out of the apartment and let the door click behind me in that soft, final way, it felt just like a period at the end of a long sentence. I didn't go straight to my new place like I told myself. Instead, I drove back to the small parking lot outside the grocery store where his ex-friend, Tyler, worked overnight stocking shifts. Tyler and my ex hadn't spoken in years because of a blow-up they had during college. My ex always told me that Tyler was unstable, dramatic, jealous of him, but that was just how he talked about anyone who saw through him. Tyler was one of the first people who warned me, quietly and awkwardly, at a barbecue 2 summers ago. "Just be careful," he'd said, giving me this tight, uncomfortable smile before walking away. I didn't listen then. I almost wished I had. Now, after 8 months of peeling back the layers, I realized Tyler probably knew things I didn't, things that would sharpen the final edge of what I was about to do. He saw me before I saw him. He stepped out the back door of the store, hoodie half-zipped, a cigarette between his fingers. "You okay?" he asked immediately, like he already knew the answer. "No," I said honestly. "And that's why I'm here." He didn't ask questions. He just nodded once and motioned me over to the concrete steps by the dumpsters, where he sat down heavily. The smell of cigarette smoke curled between us like a whisper. "So," he said finally, exhaling, "you found out." "I found out months ago." His eyebrows rose. "And you stayed." "I had plans." A slow grin spread across his face, like he suddenly respected me on some new level. "Good for you," he said. "He deserves whatever's coming." I stared at him. "Tyler, what did he do to you?" "Really?" Tyler rubbed his jaw for a few seconds, then flicked his cigarette away and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I'll tell you something he never would," he said. "But once you hear it, you can't unhear it. You sure you want it?" "I've gone too far to stop." "All right," he said, voice darkening. "Then here's your final motivation." He told me about the girl my ex dated before me, real, not a rumor. A girl named Paige. She ended things badly apparently. Or tried to. She was shy, sweet, soft-spoken. My ex cheated on her too, but instead of leaving quietly, she confronted him. Told him she was done, that she couldn't do it anymore, that she was moving out. And that's when it happened. When Tyler said it, the air around us felt darker, colder. "He took her phone and smashed it into the sink," Tyler said. "Told her she wasn't going anywhere until he said so." I felt my throat tighten. "Did he hurt her?" Tyler nodded slowly. "Not enough to leave bruises on her face. He wasn't stupid. But she left with marks. On her arms. Her ribs. She told me afterward. Told a few people. But she never reported him. She just disappeared. Moved states. Blocked everyone." My hands curled into fists. "He always said she cheated on him," I whispered. "Yeah," Tyler snorted. "He'd say anything to make himself look like the victim." I couldn't believe how easily the anger rose in me, hot and acidic, burning through the last traces of doubt or hesitation. Because suddenly this wasn't just revenge anymore. This was justice. Long overdue. And I knew exactly what the final act would be. Tyler didn't ask for details. He didn't need to. I thanked him, got back in my car, and drove into the night with a new fierce clarity in my veins. When I got to my new apartment, I sat on the bare floor and typed out a long, detailed email to the HR director at his company, the one I'd already spoken to earlier. I included everything. Screenshots of the fake documents I'd created, the messages I'd saved, the timeline of his lies, the names of the coworkers he'd bragged to. But I also added something new. A name page M. A description of what Tyler told me. Enough detail to trigger concern, maybe even liability fears. Enough for HR to dig deeper. Enough to make every part of his life unravel at once. When I hit send, I didn't feel a single ounce of guilt. By the time I woke up the next morning, the chaos was already unfolding like dominoes tipping in perfect rhythm. My phone lit up with texts from a mutual friend. He's been suspended. Dude, his mom is freaking out. He's saying someone is framing him. He's losing it. He thinks you did it. I ignored them. Ate breakfast. Took a shower. Opened the blinds to the warm morning light. It felt like I was finally living inside my own skin again. But I wasn't done. That afternoon, I drove to his parents' house. They lived on a quiet street lined with perfectly trimmed hedges and American flags clipped to mailboxes. When his mother opened the door, she looked wrecked, red eyes, trembling hand on the doorway. "You," she whispered when she saw me. "Please come in." I stepped inside slowly. His father was sitting on the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. "What happened is between him and the company now," his father said without looking at me. "But we need to know why. Why all this?" I took a deep breath. And I told them the truth. Every piece of it. Their son's affair. His lies. The way he gaslit me. Manipulated me. Dismissed me. Blamed me. All of it. When I got to the part about Paige, his mother's hand flew to her mouth and she sobbed so hard her body shook. He told us she was unstable," she whispered. I nodded. "He always said the woman was the problem. His parents didn't defend him. They didn't minimize it. They just sat there, devastated, letting reality settle over them like a heavy, choking fog. When I left, his father walked me to the door. His voice was quiet, level, cold. "You did the right thing," he said. That was the moment I realized something. Sometimes the people who raise the villain are the first ones to recognize the truth when it finally breaks through. 3 hours later, my ex showed up at my old apartment to find it empty. No furniture, no router, no food, no notes except the one I left on the bed. He tried calling me again and again, but by then I had already changed my number. And then, a week later, I got the message. Not from him, but from his mother. It was short, emotionally flat, defeated. "I thought you should know. He's been terminated." I read it twice, 3 times. Let the reality sink in. 8 months of planning had worked. His job, his stability, his reputation, his confidence, his support system, every pillar he leaned on had collapsed. One by one. Quietly. Beautifully. Piece by piece, I dismantled the life of the man who thought he could lie, cheat, break people, and walk away without consequences. And I felt nothing but peace. I didn't hear from him for nearly a month after that. Until one night at 2:14 a.m. my new phone, buzzed with an unknown number. A voicemail. Just one. I sat on the floor of my new apartment, the moonlight painting pale stripes across the carpet, and pressed play. First there was nothing. Just breathing. Shallow. Uneven. Frighteningly calm. Then his voice. Not angry. Not desperate. Just hollow. "You won," he said. "You destroyed everything. I get it now. I get what I did. I deserved it." A pause. "But I need you to understand something before you go on thinking you were the only one planning anything." Another pause. Longer this time. Then, "I wasn't cheating on you with just one girl." My blood went cold. I wasn't lying about just that. I lied about something else too. Something bigger. Something I was going to tell you after I got the promotion. Something that would have changed everything. Silence. Then he whispered it. 8 words that made every hair on my arm stand up. Words so quiet I almost missed them. It was me who found her. Not the cops. My pulse pounded in my ears. Found who? Found Paige? Found what? Then he spoke again. Low. Soft. Terrifying. "And you should ask yourself why she never came back home." The message cut off. And that was the last time I ever heard his voice. The police report came 3 days later. Not from him. Not from me. but from someone else entirely. It was one single line in the officer's summary that nearly made me drop the letter right there on the floor. It said, "Body recovered after anonymous tip traced to your ex-boyfriend." Thank you for watching this jaw-dropping true story. Face screaming in fear if you were on the edge of your seat. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Intiqara Stories for more unbelievable real-life revenge, mystery, and drama. Drop a comment below. Tell us what you would do if you were in her shoes. Did she go too far, or was it perfect justice? Turn on notifications so you never miss the next story that will shock you, inspire you, and keep you hooked till the very last second. Remember, every story on Intiqara Stories is real, intense, and made to keep you thinking long after the video ends. Subscribe now and join our community of story lovers, because the next twist is just around the corner.